Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming tonight. My name is Brenda Halverson, and I'm the manager of the Staples World. On behalf of the Staples Motley Area Community Foundation, I want to thank you for coming tonight and for caring enough about your community to want to be educated on the issues. I also want to thank all of the candidates for participating in this forum and for giving their time to public service. We have 9 candidates seeking to fill 3 4-year terms on the Staples Motley School Board. With us tonight are Roy DiGiovanni, Joe Feldman, Chris Johnson, Chad Longbella, Jeff Spandel, Eric Wallace, and Brian Winkles. Pete Swensrud was planning to be here but was called into work a few hours ago. And Paul Anderson is joining us from wherever he is on the road with his job. He's on the phone. Memphis, I guess. Okay. But he will be joining us on speakerphone. And speaking of phones, I'd like to ask you now, in respect to the candidates and to everyone else in the audience, if you would please turn off your phones or put them on mute, and any other electronic devices you might have that might make noise. Thanks. Now, the candidates have all been briefed on this process, but I'm going to review it for you for the benefit of the audience so that you know what's going to happen, because it is different from previous forums that we've had. Questions from the audience can be submitted and in writing, and there should be paper and pencils for you on the tables, and given to either Mary Kobliska on that side of the room, or Ryan Luft on that side of the room, or Jack Nelson in the middle here. And they will gather them together and group them and give them to me. Questions have also been prepared by the committee that organized this forum, and we also asked for questions from the school staff. And so I took those and kind of have put them together into a group of questions. So we've got more questions than we'll have time for tonight. Each segment of the forum will be timed. Roger Houselog is the timer tonight, and he will signal the candidates of their time. When his sign says 0, the candidates may finish their sentence, but then they must stop. Each candidate will have 1 minute for a brief biographical opening statement. I will draw the order randomly from this sweet little basket I have up here, so nobody knows who's going first and who's going last. The same process will apply for the first round of questions. The first question will be directed to the first name I draw. For the second segment, the committee has predetermined one question that all candidates will answer. They will each have 30 seconds to answer that question, and that order will be drawn randomly. For the third segment, each candidate will choose one question from the first 9 that were asked, one that he didn't get to answer. And the time for response for this is 1 minute. And again, the order will be drawn randomly. If we have time, we will try to do a second round of that so we can give the candidates as many opportunities as possible to answer questions and give their views on the issues facing the school district. But at approximately 8:40, we will begin the summarizations. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for a closing statement, and this is their opportunity to follow up on other points made during the questioning, or perhaps to state a position that hasn't been covered so far in the questions. We expect all participants and audience members to listen intently and to respect the stated positions. And the candidates will most likely be available for you after the forum if you want to visit with them individually. Okay. We begin. Eric Wallace, your opening statement, please.
I'm Eric Wallace. My family and I moved to the Staples Motley area in '96. We have 2 daughters in school. One's a junior, and one's in 6th grade in Motley.
Thank you. Brian Winkles, your opening statement.
I'm Brian Winkles. I live in the Staples area with my wife Amy. We have 3 children. We have a sophomore Tyler, a 5th grader named Emmett, and a 4th grader Cole. I'm a 1991 graduate of Staples Motlet. Lived in this community most of my life, with the exception of a small stint over in the Crosby area. I'm an OT for Freshwater Ed District, which gives me the opportunity this year to work in 6 different school districts with administrators, staff, and students.
Thank you. Joe Fellman?
My name is Joe Fellman. I graduated from Staples High School, back when it was Staples High School in 1978. Did 4 years in the Air Force, attended Wadena Tech College, and Penny and I have 5 children, 2 which are still in school. And I employed at Miller True Value, and I coached 7th and 8th grade football and Quad County football in the past. So I feel I'm a little bit in touch with the kids in that respect.
Thank you. Roy DeGiovanni?
I'm Roy DeGiovanni. I lived in the area most all my life. I live far north of Boston, Minnesota. We have 12 grandchildren, 5 of which are in our school district, 4 adult children. And I've served on numerous boards, including previously on the Staples School District Board and on several statewide boards and regional partnership boards that used to be, that still is out there in Central Lakes College.
Great, thank you. Jeff Spanel?
Hello, I'm Jeff Spanel, and I'm married to my wife Cindy. We're both graduates of Staples High School. She's an 82 grad, I'm an 85 grad. I have one son, Nick, who is a sophomore. Again, I've coached football, basketball, Quad County, 8th grade, 7th grade. I work at Faith Lutheran Church. I also work self-employed in construction. I do a lot of activities with the youth at Faith Lutheran. So, I mean, I feel like I'm in touch somewhat with the youth. So I've been a Cardinal all my life.
Thank you. Paul Anderson?
Good evening. My name is Paul Anderson, coming to you from downtown Memphis, Tennessee, and I appreciate the efforts of the team there to at least get a telephone line available. I want to thank everybody that is in the audience for taking time out of their busy day to come and find out what the candidates are all about. My wife Janet and I and our family have been residents of the Staples Motlet District for the last 21 years. I'm pleased to say that I have 4 success stories that owe their success in part to the programs and the education that they received in the District 2170. We're very glad to be there, and my passion is continuing on with kids out of school. I have lots of friends still running the halls and want to be continued involved in their lives.
Thank you. Chad Longbella?
My name's Chad Longbella, wife Jody, have 3 wonderful kids, Kirsten, Ashley, and Grant. Grant would be a freshman at Concordia. What do I want to say? Member of the Staples United Methodist Church, at-large member of Lions Club, and presently have served finishing up my 21st year on school board. So started off at Staples and went through the pairing, and now we're 1.
All right, thank you, Chad. And Chris Johnson?
I'm Chris Johnson. My wife is Rachel. We have 2 kids, Andrew and Alexis. Alexis is 8th grade and Andrew is a sophomore. I just got back from a tour over in Kuwait. I just joined the military 4 years ago now. Currently I'm working down at Camp Ripley in the electronics department down there. Got back and I want to get involved with the kids in the education, hopefully to make it better here.
Great, thank you. Let me remind the audience that if you have questions, just hold them in the air and one of the people will come and collect them. Since I don't have any from the audience yet, I get to start with mine. First one from the committee? I'll draw the names so you know who's going to answer. Roy DeGiovanni. More students choose to open enroll to other school districts than come into our district. Now, some of those decisions are based on geography or family work schedules, but others are not. Can you explain what you can do as a school board member to help reverse that trend?
I think one of the issues on the east side of the district is when we hear from parents and young parents is there's still a concern about what's going to happen in the long range with them. So I think we need to be very clear what our position is on that. The other is if we can look for more employment opportunities within our district, that would help provide jobs for young parents.
Thank you. I should remind the candidates and the audience that they have 2 minutes to respond to this. They don't necessarily have to take all the time, but they do have that option. Okay. Next question goes to Eric Wallace. The Staples World recently reported of a local business that could not fill all of its technical skilled jobs, and this was not an isolated case. Nationwide, more than 600,000 skilled trades jobs remained open because of the shortage of qualified applicants. And yet, career and technical programs like welding, industrial arts, and even the business classes are no longer available in our schools. Can you illustrate what might be done to get students excited about these essential skilled classes and careers and how we can offer them again in the secondary school?
Excuse me. Well, years ago, the Staples Motley School used to build a house that involved, I believe they'd build a house and they'd auction it off. I think that would help teach our kids some trades. I think we have to find ways to bring classes like industrial arts back to Staples Motley, business classes, things like that, to make our kids be able to go out and get these jobs within the community.
Thank you. Chad Longbella, what do you see in the future for the facilities in the Staples Motley District?
Well, as you know, I guess just this past year, we've opened a little Cardinal Academy in Motley that would serve basically 0 through 4-year-old classes. Facility-wise, it's interesting because being a smaller school with 3 different buildings, we have a lot more overhead versus one, being a district with 1 building. So I think the biggest thing for us to do right now is we need to try to keep our buildings and keep care of our buildings. We've done a lot of work in high school the last couple of years, and that's looking fantastic. We've been adding a little bit on the Motley building, and that's there's nobody on the east side, if you want to call it east side, that needs to worry that Staples Motley are not going to be part of the Motley community. We have heavily invested in that end. That's where our growth is, and I think right now our area that is where our growth is. I just think we really need to maintain what we have as far as buildings and keeping our buildings up.
Thank you. Chris Johnson. The boys tennis program has just been dissolved, and the student newspaper has been gone for a number of years already. Are extracurricular programs such as speech and sports, visual and performing arts, are they important? And if so, can you discuss how the trend reducing these opportunities might be reversed?
I believe that they are very valuable for the students. It gets the kids, gives them something to do after school. One of the things that to help maybe provide for these kids is find different ways or different funding, whether it's through booster programs, to get more kids that maybe can't afford to go to these sports or different activities, because it is getting expensive wherever you look, from your athletic fees to just the simple going to an away game. The kids' parents are having to fork out money for a bus stop here, or a bus stop there. We can find different ways to help fund it, whether it is through the booster programs, such as football boosters, basketball boosters. Even if you created a booster club for music or something like that.
Thank you. Joel Feldman. With the opening of the Motlet Family Center, an all-day, everyday childcare program and preschool combination became a reality. Would the Staples community benefit from a similar program, or are the current programs and businesses now in place filling that role?
Well, I'm not really sure. I guess I haven't looked at any numbers or any projections for what Motlet might do. However, I guess it's a good litmus test and see how it does. And if it does pan out, I would say possibly we can do something at the Staples.
Okay. Paul Anderson. Last year, $400,000 was cut from the school budget, and the year before it was $100,000. This year, the school district is facing another deficit of nearly $500,000. Can you specify one or two ways you would bring spending in line with funding? And then also describe your method of seeking input and defending those choices.
Well, one of the things that people have to realize is that when there's spending, or there's the revenue side and there's the spending side, and there is many times not as much that we can do as a district when the revenues are less than the spend. I think existing board, the board that is in place right now, has done a yeoman's job to make sure that budgets are balanced. I would like to see a continued effort in bringing our students, regardless of where they live, regardless of family jobs, etc., give them an opportunity and reason to come back to not open enroll. We have 147 students open enroll. That's very costly for our district. And when we look at those cuts, we have to keep that in mind. We have to keep in mind that we looked at cuts this year because we graduated the class of 2012 with a number of about 135, and our kindergarten class coming in was less than 100. Well, anybody in the audience can do the math that when you look at 40 or 50 less students taking in state formula aid, we're going to have less revenue coming in. It has nothing to do with spending dollars and cents poorly. We have cut, we have sliced, we have diced, we have bled, we have large class sizes that are feeling the crunch of the cuts that we have made. And I believe our spending that we are doing is in line. You will not see us operating in the red. We operate in the black. And our taxpayers and our voters need to understand that.
Thank you. Brian Winkles. This is kind of a follow-up because it has to do with finance, but what will you do to help educate the public for the upcoming referendum?
It's an interesting question. School finance, as I'm finding out and diving more into it, is very complicated. I think Paul did a good job in summarizing the revenues and the spending. However, when I look at the referendum coming up and stuff and looking over the budget, it appears to me that if we continue on, if we renew our referendum, just continuing, not asking for any more further dollars, that it would supplement the needs that we have right now in the district.
Okay, thank you. And Jeff Spandel? Describe the strategies that you would employ to improve meaningful communication within the school district and also foster partnerships with school families and bring the parent voice to the decision-making table.
Well, somehow or another, that communication does have to improve. You know, you read in the paper, for an example, just recently when the tennis was cut, and it was brought up, does that have to be cut now? You know, and why was it cut? But it's just that somehow that bridge has got to be gapped, so that people understand what is going on with the school, why these decisions are being made, you know, why the cutbacks and why these classes are not offered, why industrial arts is not offered. Somehow or another, I have to figure that out and help figure that out.
Thank you. That is the end of our first segment of questioning. Our next one is a common question. Each school board candidate will get a chance to respond to this. They will have 30 seconds to do that. And this is the common question. And I will again draw the names out of the hat, out of the basket, to see who gets to go first. The common question is, describe your view of the perception of public education in our community, or perhaps another way of saying it, describe what you think is the public's perception of our school district. Eric Wallace.
I think the public's view of the school district is you bring your kids here, you drop your kids off, and the teachers are here to teach them. I think it's important for parents to be involved in their children's education. It will help them get farther, do better in their education. And I think that the community perception is that we're just a money-sucking organism to the community.
Okay. Roy DeGiovanni, your response?
I think most parents have been satisfied with school and have a good perception of the school. Most parents that I speak with them have personal perceptions of that. This school did a very good job of serving our children's needs. We had one child that did post-secondary. The other three, I think that looking back, that one would not have been post-secondary. So I'm pleased with what our children do.
Okay. Jeff Spandel.
Well, I think that the public's perception is there's a lot of hidden things that go on. I think a lot of, as far as even the charter school goes, there's a lot of people that don't know exactly what that charter school is about. You know, what it will do, what it won't do. I think that they also, it's better than average, but it could be better, is what the perception is.
Great, thank you. Paul Anderson.
Thank you, Brenda. I believe our community's feelings of our 2170s education is good. I believe they see cardinal. I believe they feel cardinal spirit. I believe they know that for the most part, most people understand that teachers have a tough job. And I believe that for those that have called me, I've earned over our 20 years here, phone calls And when we can communicate what is on the other side of that cut or that disciplinary action or whatever it is, it's interesting to see how quickly our public says, oh, I get it.
Okay, thank you. Brian Winkles.
Well, obviously, public perception is going to vary as it does in everything else. I think the biggest thing we can do as a district, though, is we need to work to continue to build a positive school, a good curriculum, both with education, extracurricular activities, to build something that exceeds what is found elsewhere, so that parents and our community can be proud, continue to be proud of what we have here in the Staples and Motlet community.
Thank you. Chad Longdella.
I think there's a vast difference of who you talk to as far as with the school thing. You know, some people are diehard Cardinal fans, and I think what we need to do is communicate. We have a hard time communicating whether you're a senior or if you have kids in school, and that's an issue that's always been there, is to communicate with our public. Because if the public doesn't feel well about your school, then they're not going to support you.
Thank you. Joe Feldman.
I've listened to some parents and come with the concerns. Some are very proud of our school, but the ones that have the questions is exactly what they have are questions. I don't feel that we have enough transparency so that people in the public are readily available to exactly what's going on in our schools. So I feel there's just a lot of question marks out there.
Communication again. And Chris Johnson.
I believe the last couple of years, I know being gone for a year, I heard about a lot of the negative stuff that came out. I think over the last couple of years there was some negative stuff, but now it's starting to get better, and they are working on the communication. Like I said, that is the biggest problem. People not understanding or even asking the right questions or knowing who to go to talk to. I think hopefully we can go in a better direction and make it better for children to go to school.
Thank you. This is kind of our lightning round. We will go into the third round now, and this is where the candidates will have an opportunity to answer a question that was asked earlier. If they ask me to, I will read it again. We also have more questions from the audience and from our list that haven't been answered yet. I'm hoping that we can, if you choose, we can get you some of those as well. So now is your chance, candidates, to pick a question, and you will have 1 minute to respond. And we will start with Brian Winkles.
When I look at the vocational programs, it's actually one of the things that I've been looking at. And, I think it's fantastic that students can, take college-level classes and get credit for them in high school, but I also think it's important that college isn't for everybody. There are those vocational jobs, those technical jobs, and when I look at what's offered now compared to when I was in school, it is definitely much less. And I think it's important that we continue to offer those, because everything's cyclical. And it's finding that those jobs are needed now, and we need to make sure we're offering those in our schools so that we can meet our students' needs from that perspective.
Okay. Chris Johnson?
The future of the facilities. Everybody talks about the big cost that it is for the school having 3 buildings. Constantly coming to the taxpayers and asking for more money for this or that. And for me, I guess as a taxpayer, not as a school board member, I would definitely go for funding a single building, trying to find that happy medium between Staples and Motlet, try to make everybody happy, and have the one facility, and a nice facility. You're going to compete against Wadena, who's got a nice brand new, whether it was on their own or not, they did get a brand new facility. So you're going to have to compete against that. And when do we start looking at doing something like that?
Thank you. Eric Wallace?
far as the levy referendum, a lot of people in our community seem to think that it's not a good idea. It's raising their taxes again and again and again. And I think we have to lay out a positive plan and not just make them think that we're asking for a blank check. We need to be able to tell them where everything's going and how we're going to spend this money. And I think that would gain more popularity within the community and the school district to for them to approve or vote for this levy referendum.
Joe Feldman?
Okay, well, first of all, Brian stole my question. So, but I'll just reiterate, a lot of what he says is true. And, you know, a mile away, we have one of the finer institutions here that would offer classes to our students. And we used to do it years ago. We used to go half a day to trade school. And I think it served a lot of people in this town in 2170 real well. So I guess that would be a number one priority with this guy, is to get that back in our school, or at least bus our kids out there.
Okay. Jeff Spandau?
I'd like to address the extracurricular question. And I touched on earlier too about tennis, and I mean, I don't want to see any program cut. You know, maybe there was no choice, and that's something I might find out if elected. However, I think that studies show that if a student is involved in some type of extracurricular activity, whether it be football, band, whatever it is, they're far more successful in life. Now, do I think that football or baseball, that's more important than the classes? No, I don't. But I think that that is a tool to use to get the kids in our class and to keep them on the right side of the grade so they can participate. So that's very important to me.
Chad Longfellow?
Well, the tech ad we've talked about quite so far, but that is a thing that, or educational program that in our school right now that we are very weak in, and that needs to be addressed. That's what kind of spurred on the thought process of the charter school. And charter schools can be good and can be bad for a community, all depending on how you welcome them and how you can work with them. I'm out of time. Anyway, and no, it's something that this district needs to work on. We have a wonderful top end. My 3 kids all came out with a year and a half of college credit, never left the building. So we're going to take care of the other end. Now we need to look at the middle.
All right. Roy DeGiovanni?
Well, I would reiterate too that the industrial, because in fact it's really important, but I'd like to wonder if we could possibly integrate that into middle school classes as well. And maybe we can't add the classes back into middle school, but we integrate some of those in our regular classes, some of those skills. And well, we need to expect a lot out of our students too. And just was watching a show on this in China. You want to guess how many hours a week that their students go? 60 hours a week. Students in China go to school. 6 days a week. So we have to can't force kids to learn, but we need to expect them to.
All right. And Paul Anderson?
Thank you. I would like to take just another quick peek at the levy for the fall of 2014. I think it's important that it was already mentioned by Mr. Wallace, the importance of it and laying out the good plan. I think we also need to realize that those levy dollars do not impact our tax base as much as we thought they were going to, because with some of those referendum dollars, we did pay off the levy. So if the referendum did not pass, we would have to add back on levy dollars for health and safety, as well as safe school, community center, the lease for the for the community center and the golf course. So I think just knowing that, giving us a year before the vote comes, will ease some minds. We're not going to ask to spend any more probably than we already are. We just want to continue on doing what we're doing successfully.
Great, thank you. We do have time to do another round of those questions where the candidate can choose. As I mentioned, I have others here that we did not get a chance to ask from the audience. So if there is a question that you would like a chance to answer that you haven't yet, that we've already asked, you may do that, or I can read a new one for you, your choice. Okay? So we will start the fourth round, and then after this round, we will go into the closing statements. So fourth round, and with this, you get 1 minute to respond again, as I asked before. So, Chris Johnson, you get to go first. New question. There was one here, and it was kind of related about the charter school. And what are the advantages to our school? This says, why should 2170 sponsor a charter school? But I don't believe that's entirely accurate. They maybe are helping, but why should we have a charter school, this technical college type of school? Because it's project-based learning, and it's going to be in 6 career and technical fields. And so can you give your opinion of what the charter school should be and perhaps its effects on the school district?
I'm not sure on how the charter school is going to affect the school, well, I think but if it is offering the technical classes for the kids, it would be a good thing. As long as it's not taking dollars out of the pockets from the school. If the school is going to lose enrollment, they lose funding from the state or federal government, I don't think it is a good thing for it, because then now the school is going to have to come to the taxpayers and ask for more money to fund when they're losing students.
All right, thank you. Jeff Spandel?
I guess I'd like to address that same question. And I think if it could, I think offering the 6 career classes, I think is a good thing, but offering it through the charter school, to me, is not a good thing. When, let's say you had 100 students open enrolled, basically, because it's another district, my understanding, it would be another district, so 100 students open enroll out of our district at a cost of is around $8,000 per student. It's $800,000 a year that we would lose. I would like to see that brought back into our district, and then classes taught within our district.
Okay. Chad Longdella. A previous question or a new one?
No, I'll take what's mine, door number 2.
As students leave this school district, what are 3 things you wish that you hope that they would take with them?
Knowledge of a good education, the thought process that they would like to come back to this area and give back to their school. And third one, I guess, would be that they have fun. The school needs to be fun. And if you have fun, you learn.
All right. Eric Wallace.
It's the open enrollment thing question. I think we need to offer more classes to our kids to keep them here in our community. You know, whether it's get back industrial arts, offer more language classes, maybe more college preparatory classes. I don't know if there's other extracurricular activities we could offer that kids would want to be involved in, but I think we got to figure out from the community and why these kids are leaving our district going somewhere else, so that we can make effort to keep them here.
Right. Joe Feldman?
Your three?
Okay. And there was one from the audience like this. Your long-range vision for our school district. Maybe what you think our number one priorities should be to get to that long-range vision.
Okay. I guess what I'd like to see for our school district in the long run would be fewer kids that are actually don't have a place when they leave high school. We have a lot of kids, I think, that just kind of drift. I mean, I think we kind of teach the college format for our kids at this point. And if you're not there, maybe you'll go to Vo-Tech school. I think our Vo-Tech school is back in our school again, like it used to be. We cover the middle, so to speak. I guess I'd just like to see our school kind of back to the way it was back in the day. And I thought it was more compact. I think since Motlet has come, it's kind of spread out. I think we've kind of got a lot of fingers everywhere, and I'd like to see us drawn back in a little closer and a little more compact, if you would.
Okay. Paul Anderson.
Do you have a door for
I do.
All right.
List the tools that students need to be successful in the 21st century workforce. Does our school have it now? Do our students get them now? And if not, explain how we could acquire them.
I believe that the team that we have in the elementary, the middle school, and the high school are striving like never before to make sure that our students have the tools to succeed, starting with the graduating class of 2012 and 2013 and 2014. I've seen a concerted effort to see a baton, if you will, a baton of readiness go from the elementary to the middle school and have those students ready to do the middle school, and the same baton pass from the middle school to the high school and have those students ready. Time doesn't allow going into detail, but I believe the tools are there. I think some of the other candidates have mentioned the need to add some more tools, and I agree with that, whether it's tech ed or industrial, or it's more technology, it's more computers, etc. But I believe our students every day get more and closer and closer to being more and more successful for post-graduation.
Great, thank you. Roy DeGiovanni. Sure. If you could change two things in our school, what would they be, and why do you choose those?
All the students to have a good experience in school. I'm not saying they don't, but that's what I want all students to have. And when they come out of here, I want them to know that school is a very caring atmosphere for them to learn. And to know that this wasn't the end of it. No matter what they're at. And if you go through this here thinking this is the end of your learning, then you haven't learned. Because this is still just the beginning of learning.
All right. And Brian Winkles.
I'll go off the two things. I probably won't have time for two things that I'll change, but you know, it's interesting with the job opportunity I have, walking around the hallways in Staples and Motlet schools and the other schools. I think the biggest thing that I see right now, and probably has some things to do with the difficult changes that went through the school lately, is the school culture. I think the culture in our buildings has suffered maybe over the last couple of years because of some of the hard decisions that the board has had to make. But I really feel that we need to work as administrators, as a school board, as a teaching staff to really come back together as a school district and change that culture. Attitude reflects leadership, and without strong leadership, our students are going to feed on that too, and they're going to and how we get our children to trust staff, students, or staff, administration, everything, if we're having maybe some issues with that at the administration and teacher level. So I think the school culture overall needs to be looked at in our district.
All right, thank you. That is the end of our fourth round of questioning. We will now go into the closing statements. The candidates each have 2 minutes for this part. And candidates, for you, this is your opportunity to either follow up on points that were made during the questioning, either by yourself or by others, or maybe to state a position or a topic that hasn't been brought up. And yes, we have more questions here. There are a lot more interest in the community for what you have to think. So this is your time to give us a closing statement. And we will begin with Joe Feldman.
Okay, I would agree with a lot of what Brian said about basically the spirit of our school and our students. And their spirit has been broken, I believe, in the last couple of years. I guess from their perspective, if I was them looking at what has gone on, you're left just to kind of wonder, where are we headed? So I guess I would try to implement some leadership. I think the kids need to be brought into the process of what is going to happen and what needs to happen. And at this point, I don't really see them all that involved with their future within the school. So I guess basically that would be kind of a priority number one. Let's get our spirit back in our school. And on some other things, I guess, as far as our middle students, I think are the ones that have kind of missed a little bit here. I think our students that are able to pull the A's and the B's are going to be just fine, because they're going to do that. I think it's our middle students we really have to concentrate on. And that, I believe, can be solved with our trade schools and perhaps some tutors in our school, which I'd like to see very much, because I think we have some people that are very, very good at what they did. They can answer just about any question that those kids have. I guess that's pretty much it.
All right, thank you. Chris Johnson.
I think the biggest thing is like Joel said, and a lot of us have said tonight, is that the communication needs to get better between students, parents, school board, teachers. I mean, everybody's got to be involved. And also, people need to actually look at themselves and stop sugarcoating everything for these kids and for ourselves. Got to get a little bit more, and you got to at least finally buckle down and start looking at what's good for the kids instead of what's good for us or for myself. I've seen it too many times where people are always out for themselves, not out for our students. And as far as the kids being able to participate, like I said, I think if we can get more kids to participate, it's going to be a lot easier for these kids in school. It's going to be funner for them. And like I said, I just really like to see the kids start having some fun and being able to have those opportunities that a lot of us had when we were going to school.
All right, thank you. Chad Longbella.
First of all, school needs to be enjoyable. And with that, doesn't always necessarily, I think, need to be fun, but not fun as in, always just running around. Because I believe that when you become in kindergarten, there's a level of expectation every child has. And I think we don't always necessarily communicate to the children where that bar is and what level you're expected to be at. And if that's communicated, I think, a little bit better. And I'm not blaming teachers or anything like that. It's just kind of a community type thing that we need to, if you expect out of a child something more than likely that child will do everything in its possible way to achieve it, to please you. But anyway, it needs to be enjoyable, we need to keep the kids on task. What else? Part of that would be the high school, they have a lounge now, student lounge. Those have come, gone, because if you don't take care of it, you don't respect it, we take it away. We take away open lunch last year. That was huge. That was not a popular decision by Mr. Lofton, let me tell you. And those are the things that come and go. If you expect it, you get it, you retrieve it, and we have a lot of good things going on in Staples Mine.
All right, thank you. Paul Anderson.
Thank you. I have appreciated listening to the answers that have been given. I have to tell you from my perspective, no, I haven't been living under a rock the last number of months or years, but I would have to say that we have good attitudes in our school. It is not doom and gloom in the elementary or the middle school or the high school. I think we've seen some paradigm shifts in the last 2, 3, 4 years on our campuses. And I think this has to do with the leadership that we have, be it administrative, be it teacher, be it staff. Good things are being expected, as Mr. Longbella said, and good things are happening from those expectations. I continue, ladies and gentlemen, to have a passion and a perspective and a perseverance on our school board that allows me to work as a team member. It allows me to have been thought of as stand in the shoe. I have been squeaky at times.
1 minute.
I have received phone calls over the months and the years. And again, the communication when it is had, it's amazing how quickly that can bring solution. And if more people need more solution, then we need to talk and discuss more. A few years ago, when I ran for school board the first time, people said, how do you have time with 4 children? And I said, how can I not take the time to invest in my 4 children on the school board? I will tell you this, that my passion has allowed me to say, I have to make sure that what my 4 students received, your students receive as well. Whether they are in elementary or middle school or high school, that is my promise to make sure that good education happens, enjoyable times happen, and our students are ready for 2013 and years beyond.
Great, thank you. Jeff Sandel.
Well, I also echo the thoughts of Brian there with his leadership. I think that I think we all have to remember right down from the custodian to every student to the superintendent of our school. We're all there for the students. If we don't have any students, we don't need a custodian. We don't need a superintendent. We don't need teachers. So I think that is the biggest thing we have to remember is we're there for the students.
Thank you. Eric Wallace.
I guess I'd like to see Staples Motley get their academic achievements up a little more. There was a story on the news as to where your school ranks in the state, and I don't remember the exact number, but Staples Motley was lower than what I would have expected. So I'd like to see us get our academics up. I think it's important for the board, school administration, to be communicating with the community. But like Jeff said, the tennis program, it comes out in the paper. We got to know more. We got to have more chance in the community to talk about things and see if there's ways to save programs. Fundraisers. Can we do a fundraiser? Can we combine boosters to come up with money for these programs? I think we just gotta take a good hard look at what we're doing and what we can do to improve our kids' career in high school, our community, and our schools.
Thank you. Roy DiGiovanni.
Well, I think probably the most critical issues facing the school district in the next years ahead is going to be finances. Just if we look at the national debt, I mean, it's going to come down, it's going to affect every area in the state, it's going to affect every area in the country. We are spending way beyond the means, and it's coming down to what the states will receive back for roads, for everything else, so it's going to make it more difficult for the state to do any increase in funding for the school districts as well. So that is probably going to be, what I see is probably the most critical issue of how we're going to spend resources and what's going to be in the best interest of children. I think that we need to be very clear on this, but from my understanding is what we're talking about is just removing a current excess levy referendum, not in adding to it. So I think we need to do that for that purpose. This is probably will be the most critical issue that we face. And in order, and let's go back to the importance of just reminding parents that we're here to serve them. It's their responsibility for their children. We're here to help them. There are many other resources in the community that help them as well, but it is their responsibility to prepare their children for adulthood. They're probably their biggest help, but it is their responsibility.
Thank you. And Brian Ingalls.
I'm used to being last and at the end of the alphabet. Well, I'm going to try to cram as much stuff as I can in 2 minutes. I want to hit on the extracurricular stuff. I think it's a sign of the times in some respect. You know, families aren't as large as they used to be, which probably deals with the enrollment stuff. And you know, there's not as many students to choose from with the number of sports we have. And I do agree. I can't remember what we said earlier. I think finances and Mr. Johnson is a huge part of it. It is very expensive to have your kids in activities, whether it be football, hockey, basketball, whatever you choose. So I think it's a challenging time for figuring out ways to be creative and provide opportunities for our students as far as extracurricular activities, whether that be waiving fees or whatever we decide to do with that. One item that hasn't been hit on it, shortly, but technology. I think I think the school has done a good job of improving technology in the school. However, it's an interesting challenge with funding. Is how do we keep up with technology when it changes so fast? And whether we like it or not, technology's here and it's staying here. This generation of students, I said in the paper, learns differently than we do. I can't remember how many times I told my kids, I wish you could just get your face off that screen for a minute, when maybe I should be asking the question, maybe I should get mine on it so I can communicate with them and deal with the way they do, learn the way they do. So I think that's important. And obviously the last one is, it's been a highlight here all night, communication. It seems like it's always the problem of all issues and stuff when it comes down to communication. I think bridging that gap between the community, and I see it, Roger, bridging that gap between the community and the schools, figuring out a way that we can meet their needs and so that the public can feel that they're being heard, I think is very important. I'd just like to also thank the Community Foundation for putting on this event. I think it's very important for them to offer it so that the public can be informed of the candidates. So thank you.
Wow. That is going to conclude our evening. I want to thank you, audience, for the good questions that you submitted. And I want to thank you, candidates, for your very thoughtful responses. It's obvious that you all care very much about the school district, so I appreciate your being here and sharing yourselves with us, giving us a chance to hear what you have to say.
I have a question. Where are the women?
That's a good question. So that's something to work for. All of you in this group can work for the next election, is to make sure we have some women at the table. I also want to say thank you to Lakewood Health System for offering this space, and the Community Foundation thanks all the candidates. I will let you know that this forum has been recorded this evening, and it will be posted up on YouTube in a couple of days. It's going to be named something like 2012 Staples Motley School Board Candidate Forum or something real catchy like that. But tell your friends and tell people who couldn't be here tonight that they have a chance to check in and see and hear the forum tonight if they had to miss it. One last thing, please vote on November 6th. This concludes the forum, and thank you all very much for coming.